When I began college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. I am a first generation college student, and so I didn't have parents to guide me in terms of, what careers to potentially take. I think like any good immigrant parent, the advice is always doctor, lawyer, engineer. And so I knew that I wanted to do something related to community service or public service, and definitely pursue a career that directly impacted people. But I wasn't sure what path to take, whether it was law or the nonprofit world. And it really, my interest in international affairs didn't really spark until my study abroad experience in Mexico City during my sophomore year of college. I was in Mexico City for about 9 months. I enrolled directly at a university in Mexico City and volunteered at a local nonprofit that was focused on helping increase access to HIV treatments for LGBTQ plus people living in the city. And so really that experience made me realize that I wanted to travel and explore a career in international affairs. I ended up graduating college with a degree in history and still really unsure how to break into international affairs. But it wasn't until I discovered the Foreign Service Fellowships, the Thomas Pickering, Charles Ringel, and Donald Payne Fellowships. And I ultimately ended up applying to all three and was able to receive one of them, the Donald Payne Fellowship. So thankfully, I have a direct pathway to USAID's Foreign Service after graduation. And that's really just the general scope of how I ended up in international affairs and got an interest in the field. I think the biggest thing for me was, and in general, is emphasizing the cultural heritage that you carry. I think a lot of us take for granted being the children of immigrants or even being immigrants themselves, and emphasizing those cultural soft skills that people don't really realize they have until later on. And we really take for granted the language skills that we develop at a young age. And being from bilingual households, it really made me it gave me the advantage of being able to see the world from two different perspectives, one from an American perspective and a second from a Mexican perspective. And even just growing up, going back and forth between Texas and Dallas, Texas, my hometown, in Mexico, and being able to live for a couple of months throughout the year, my childhood, in my parents' hometowns, like it was really advantageous for me to really understand that the world is not one way, and it's very multifaceted. And so I think framing your narrative and story in a way that emphasizes your cultural heritage and those soft skills that you develop that you might not realize are soft skills is really, really helpful. And just really emphasizing how your background really has led you to your interest in public service or international affairs, and really making those linkages really clear and then in your narratives for these kinds of careers. The first barrier was financial, for sure. I think graduate school is one of those things where it's very expensive, and I think the best advice that I've received from my mentors has been not going into graduate school without any kind of substantial funding, especially because you really need to know what it is that you want to get out of graduate school. The second challenge was really understanding and identifying what in international affairs I wanted to specialize in. So thankfully, with the fellowship that I currently have, I'm able to have that focus on international development. And so right now I'm really tailoring all of my classes towards a career in development and monitoring and evaluation. But for someone who doesn't have this kind of opportunity and is just in general wanting to pursue a career in international affairs, I think one of the biggest challenges that you'll have is really understanding what it is in international affairs you want to focus on, whether it's if you have a regional interest, a functional interest in development or international education, or whether it's international security policy. So really understanding and reflecting on what your true interests are can be really helpful in addressing that challenge that is which academic focus you want to take in grad school. And then the third one, third challenge for me was really imposter syndrome and just the general application process. Graduate school applications are expensive and they're very extensive and require a lot of time and energy developing all of your personal statements, and sometimes even recording a video interview of yourself, to really address like why this program and why this specific concentration. And I think that really takes a lot of time and a lot of mentorship to really support the application process. So I would say those are the three biggest challenges for sure, that I had when it came to graduate school and international affairs. One has been expanding my network. I've been able to meet people from all over the world and who have different interests. Two, graduate school has been really helpful in addressing my focus on my passion. And I think in undergrad, it's really, you have more space and room to do lots of things. And in grad school, your time and workload is a lot more intense. So you really do have to identify what it is that you're truly interested in. And so that's been really helpful in terms of focusing more on the things that I care about versus things that I just am doing for the sake of doing. And then third, just really understanding the ecosystem of the international affairs world, because it's very overwhelming, and I've really appreciate being able to understand the different kinds of pathways that one can take in international affairs, and potential similarities between different careers in international affairs.